So today we're brewing on the Robobrew version 3. Got our strike water all heated up and we're just about to add our grain into the strike water for our mash. So enjoy. So you want to give it a stir, make sure there's no dough balls that are formed as we've added our grain in. Make sure it's all nice and separated. Put our top screen on. And then we set our pump on to give a nice little flow. So it doesn't overflow, but it gets a nice recirc throughout our mash. And we'll also adjust our temperature down to our mashing temperature of 66 degrees. And now we pretty much just let that mash for an hour. We keep an eye on it, increase the flow as the grain bed settles, and yeah, go from there. You can see how sort of cloudy the mash is now, and that'll all clear up as it recircs. So yeah, we'll just let it go for now. So we're about 20 minutes into our mash. As you can see, it's cleared up a fair bit and the flow rate's starting to go a bit quicker, so we'll adjust the tap to get a little bit more recirculation flow. Water's nice and clear, and our temperature's sitting relatively stable between 66 and 68 degrees. So we'll let it keep recircling and doing its thing. So that's the mash done. Nice and clear, good flow. We're going to go to mash out now, so we're going to adjust our temperature up to 75 degrees. And we'll let that go for 15 minutes. So yeah, we'll come back at the end of the 15. So that's our mash out done. So next step is sparging. So I'm going to switch the pump off. Pump's off. Then we're going to lift the grain bed or the grain malt pipe out of the Robobrew or Brewzilla. And now it's time to sparge. So I preheated my sparge water in the Brewzilla before I started brewing this morning. So my sparge water is still quite hot, which is good. Probably around about 50-60 degrees, which isn't optimal, but it's certainly better than a cold sparge. So when we're sparging, we don't want the water level to get too low, as otherwise it will start to suck down the grain and make it a lot more difficult to sparge with. So we just slowly keep topping it up to the top of the overflow pipe and let it drain through the grain bed. So that's the sparge now complete. Just slowly coming up to the boil. Let's get this out of the way. So you can take out our mash pipe. Malt pipe, sorry, and discard all the grain left inside. And that's what we've got left. So we've got a nice large amount of wort. We're looking at around about 28 litres there. So I'll just set the heat to come up to the boil. And we'll have to monitor it as it gets close. As you can see, it takes a little while to get that consistent rolling boil, but we're pretty much there now. So we'll start our 1 hour boil timer, and we'll keep an eye on that for when we have to make our additions. So we're about 20 minutes into the boil. So we've got our first hop addition. Got 10 grams of Lotus hops to go in. In they go. It'll flare up a little bit. Just keep an eye on it for a minute. I did take a little gravity sample as we started the boil, and we're at 1041, so we're pretty much on target for a 1047 final. So yeah, so far looking good. And yeah, we've just got to wait a little bit longer now for our next hop addition, which is a 15 gram hop addition with 10 minutes left of the boil, and at the same time we'll probably put in a well flock tablet to help gather all the proteins and clear up the beer at the end. So I'll see you then. So we're at the now 10-minute mark. Time to add the remaining hops and the well flock tablet. That's all our boil additions done, and we'll give it 5 minutes. We'll add the immersion chiller and let that boil for 5 minutes with the immersion chiller installed, and then we'll cool it down and add our whirlpool additions. So that's our boil complete. I've got the immersion chiller in there. I'm just going to take it off the boil and set the temperature to 80 degrees for where I want it for my whirlpool addition. So I'll set to 80 degrees. I'll turn the water on. It runs through the immersion chiller. And I'll also turn the recirculation pump on. So we start circling that water around the chiller to help it cool down. It won't take long to drop down to 80 degrees, and at which time we'll do our whirlpool hop additions. So I'll just switch the water off. We're down to 84 degrees, but that'll keep dropping as the water circulates. (82 degrees), we're kind of close enough there. So then we've got 30 grams of Lotus and 30 grams of Cryo Citra. So those goes in, and we're going to circulate that for 10 minutes. So that's the end of our 10-minute hop stand. So time to switch off the heat and open the water up again, and we'll try cool it down to fermenter temperature. So we'll probably let that whirlpool for, or swirl around with the recirc pump still on for probably be a good 15 minutes to help cool the wort down so we can transfer it to the fermenter. You don't have to transfer it directly into a fermenter. If you want a hot cube, you can put it in these and just transfer it straight in there hot. You just got to make sure they're the right type of plastic so they don't give off any chemicals when they've got hot liquid in them. And you can, once you squeeze all the air out, you can store your wort in there ready to ferment another day, and that'll last quite some time in the cube. So I'll let this whirlpool, and I'll come back and when I'm putting it in the fermenter. So our wort has managed to cool down to around about 24 degrees with the immersion chiller. I've just packed up the hose. I've got my Brewzilla all-rounder here, all sanitised, ready to go. And we're just about to start pumping the wort from the Brewzilla into the Brewzilla. I'll probably let it cool down in the fridge a little bit until we get to around about 18 degrees before I pitch yeast on it tonight. But yeah, there we go. So as it transfers, most of the sludge at the bottom should hopefully be kept in the hop cone. I've also taken a sample just to get a gravity reading from. So all transferred. You can see we've got a little bit of a hop cone there. It's a bit of a funny shape because we had the immersion chiller in there while we were letting it settle. Got the all-rounder in the fridge with the thermo well in it, chilling it down. Hopefully, yeah, an hour or two away and we should be able to put some yeast on it. Our brewer's assistant came in to say good day. So yeah, clean up time.